This is my favorite active engagement game for any of my dogs and for my students. It's very simple. Whenever the dog gives me eye contact, I mark with a yes and I toss a treat away. The reason I toss a treat away is because the dog is having to disconnect from me in order to get the treats and then choose to reconnect with me again. You'll notice Fox is not on a leash here. She could be doing anything right now, but she is choosing to actively engage with me. We're going to up the criteria at step 2. This is at the point where you start to walk away and your dog needs to catch up. So I drop a treat at my feet, walk away. When my dog turns and gives me active engagement, I mark it with a yes and then walk back in the other direction. Drop at my feet again, walk back in the other direction. I am marking with a yes the second she turns and gives me eye contact at this point. So just giving eye contact, yes, drop treat at feet, walk away. Eye contact, yes, drop treat at feet and walk away. We're upping the criteria again for this next step. Instead of marking and rewarding the eye contact and when the dog turns and comes toward us, we're marking the dog staying near our side. Dogs have a really hard time understanding how to not do something. So when we approach loose lead walking with the intention of teaching the dog to not pull, that's a really hard concept for our dogs to wrap their brains around. So by taking this other approach, we're training them what we do want, and we want them to stay near our side, kind of in this general bubble. I train a left side, you can train whatever you want. In competition, left side is heel side. So I keep my dog on the left-hand side when I'm training loose lead walking and my competitive heel. So as you can see, I'm working with Fox. When she's by my side, she'd stay with me. She's a little naughty right here. My dogs get to choose which reinforcement they want, and she's trying to tell me she would rather have her toy than food, so she brings me her toy, which was really adorable, and I wanted to keep in here so you could see a little bit of her silly personality. I gave her reward for giving me that toy, and we got back to work. You can see in a moment, she gets a little kind of frustrated and distracted because she really wanted to play with the toy instead of it. So I kind of take a few steps back. I might make this step a little bit easier for her, and I just start rewarding some of that eye contact, and then I built her back up. So here you go. She's a little distracted. She's a little upset that we didn't get to play with that toy. But then she decides, makes a good choice, and comes and engages with me. I give her the reward, and this is the point I start to make the steps a little bit easier for her, help her succeed. This isn't about testing your dog or pushing them past your limits. So always feel free to go back down a step if your dog is having a problem. Upping the criteria, if you're starting to go a little bit too fast, just take a step back, make it easier. You can change your rate of reinforcement. You can change the value of your reinforcement. Any of those things can help your dog become more engaged and be more successful in this process.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Fox is now ready for the last step in this process, and this is doing it all, but on a leash. I take away the back and forth nature, and we just start to kind of work in a general loose circle that's around. Every time she offers me engagement and gives me eye contact, I give her a yes and a reward. So as we're working around, the criteria is very loose. She's allowed to sniff, she's allowed to check things out. But when she checks back in with me and gives me engagement, that point I give her a yes and I give her a little tossed reward. So we're working our way around the field. She's very loose and casual. Whenever she gives me that engagement, yes and a reward. If she wants to go sniff something and it's within the distance of the leash, I am more than happy to give her her full leash in order to go and check something out. This is yet again a casual loose lead walk. This is not a competition heel. So you saw that she just sniffed some of the jumps that were under the A-frame. Not a problem. She can sniff anything that's within the distance of the leash. I have her on a 5-foot leash. It's something that I use very regularly. So she knows basically the distance distance of the bubble that I have around my left-hand side and what she's able to go check out without pulling on the leash and staying within her general engagement area. And that's basically it. So we're just working our way around. I will give you my little words of warning to not fade reinforcement too early during this process. This is a very new concept for a lot of dogs. If your dog has actively pulled on the leash for a really long time, you're going to have to use a very high rate of reinforcement for quite a while with your dog while doing this process. You're going to have to kind of undo all of the bad behavior that's been reinforced for months, sometimes years, depending on your dog. So please be very generous in this process. Mark and reward your dog a lot. Give them a lot of feedback that they're doing a fantastic job. Once this becomes a very easy process for your dog, once your dog can do this anywhere at any time, that's the point in which you can start to fade the rate of reinforcement and be able to have it less and less, where sometimes maybe you're just giving a verbal of what a great job, you're doing really nice. And sometimes you're giving them a food reward, and you can kind of mix it up where it's not such a high rate of reinforcement. But that does take a lot of time. It takes going to lots of new places, working this with lots of distractions, working it indoors, working it outdoors. Until your dog is able to generalize the behavior in lots of different environments, do not worry about taking away the reinforcement. But that's basically it. That's how I train loose lead walking from start to finish, by first training active engagement and then working toward on the leash.